Chris Rock just delivered a humorous jab at Donald Trump, but it was Karoline Leavitt who threw him off balance, live on national television. The exchange unfolded dramatically on live TV. Comedy icon Chris Rock took the stage, microphone in hand, wearing a confident grin. His target? Trump's marriage. Melania doesn't live in the White House, Rock jokes. She's trapped in it, hoping Donald disappears like one of his bankrupt casinos. The audience burst into laughter. But then Karoline Leavitt entered, and everything shifted. Dressed sharply and with a firm expression, she transformed the stage from comedy to confrontation. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story. As the lights illuminated the set, host Samantha Pierce walked out. Her composed smile barely concealed her curiosity. Welcome to The Pulse. Tonight we're joined by two notable guests, comedy legend Chris Rock and White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Let's give them a warm welcome. Cheers erupted as Chris Rock appeared from stage left, wearing a glossy black leather jacket and a smirk that said he was ready. He waved to the crowd and sat down, microphone already in hand. Samantha leaned forward, her tone playful yet pointed. Chris, your Melania Trump joke had the country laughing last week. What exactly did you mean when you said she wants Donald gone? Rock chuckled, turning toward the audience. What did I mean? Look, Melania's not acting like the First Lady. She looks like a model caught in a long-term contract that no lawyer would draft. I'd bet every night she's in the mirror rehearsing I'm fine in 5 different languages, while secretly hoping for a Category 5 hurricane to carry Trump away. The audience roared. Whistles and laughter filled the studio. Rock stood up and began pacing, mic held like a prop in a stand-up set. Seriously, have you seen Melania at those briefings? She stands there looking like, I gave up Milan fashion. Weak for this guy? And this is a guy who literally stared at an eclipse. Trump's running the country like it's an unaired Apprentice episode with 0 ratings. And Melania, he added, she's the only contestant who can't vote him off, and she knows it. I read somewhere that from 2017 to 2021, she appeared with Trump in public less than 200 times. That's fewer appearances than the number of tweets he fired off while at the White House. The crowd laughed louder. Applause and cheers filled the room. Samantha interrupted, raising a hand slightly. Chris, you're coming in strong, and you've even got data. But don't you think that's a bit too far? Chris turned back to her, eyebrows lifted. Too far? Samantha, that's me warming up. Trump sees himself as King Midas. Everything he touches should turn to gold. But no, everything he touches collapses. Casinos, airlines, and yes, this marriage. Melania is the evidence. She's real. Gold trapped in Trump's decaying copper furnace. She's probably wanted a divorce ever since he tried buying Greenland like it was a KFC combo meal. The crowd burst out laughing, someone even shouting, Right on, Chris. Rock pointed toward the audience. See? They get it. From stage, right, a shift. Karoline Leavitt appeared. The room fell into a brief silence, then whispers rippled across the studio. Dressed in a tailored navy suit, her blonde hair tied back neatly, she walked in with the focus and confidence of someone ready for battle. She took a seat across from Rock, her gaze cold and steady, but remained silent for now. Rock noticed her, his grin unwavering. Well, look who's here. Trump's emergency backup. What now? Gonna call in the Secret Service to cuff me for making people laugh? Or maybe hand me that contract Melania accidentally signed? A few nervous laughs came from the crowd, but the mood began to tighten. Samantha turned to Leavitt. Karoline, you've heard Chris. What's your take? Leavitt pressed her lips together, resting her hand lightly on the table, her fingers tapping, like a slow countdown. She didn't say a word, her eyes locked on Rock. He wasn't fazed. Come on, Karoline, I get it, you're Trump's voice. What's the salary again? $180K a year. But even you have to admit, Melania looks at him the same way I look at my tax bill. You've seen it. She's been polishing his image since the eclipse incident. I swear, he continued, she must have wanted to scream, Donald, what are you even looking at? I'm trapped here. But nope, She stays silent, stuck. And Trump? He thinks it's the greatest love story ever told, like he believes he won 100% of the vote. Rock walked toward Levitt's table, pointing. She can say whatever she wants, but the fact is, Melania signed the worst contract in history. Worse than Trump's deal with the voters, he lost by 7 million. I've got the numbers. Since his first term began, she's smiled in public. Just 12 times, I checked. Google doesn't lie. And Trump, he went on, he's grinning daily, thinking he's brilliant. But what genius has a wife who looks like she's ready to escape every time she's seen? The audience exploded again. Applause rolled through the room like a wave. Rock sat back down, arms wide like he'd just finished a flawless set. I'm only saying what everyone else is thinking. Melania's a luxury prisoner, and Trump's the self-declared warden, with the worst wig on earth. She doesn't need me to speak for her. Just look at her expression when she's near him. I'd bet anything she's already got the divorce. Papers drafted, just waiting for the end of his term to send them out. Samantha chuckled awkwardly. Chris, you're really pushing the boundaries here. Rock shrugged, his eyes gleaming. That's my job, Samantha. I say what's real, and real life. It's way funnier than anything Trump ever scripted. He leaned back, still smirking, waving the mic like he'd just scored a victory. Samantha, eyes wide with anticipation, turned to Levitt. Karoline, he just made a lot of statements about the president and his family. You've heard it all. What's your response? The room quieted completely. All eyes turned to Levitt. She exhaled slowly, lifting her hands from the table, standing tall. Her sharp gaze locked on Rock, and suddenly the atmosphere turned dense, like everyone sensed something big was coming. She stepped toward Rock, voice calm yet firm. Chris, are you finished? Because now I'll show you what truth actually looks like. Rock raised an eyebrow, trying to jump in. Oh, she's ready to go. All right. But Levitt lifted a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. Her voice cut through the room like a blade. Don't call me kid, Chris. I'm the White House press secretary. I'm not here to play along with your stand-up routine. You think you can sit here, toss around jokes about the president's family and laugh it off like you're on the corner cracking jokes? That's not how this works. The room went still, a few gasps. Chris tilted his head, trying to maintain his cool. Making stuff up? I'm just saying what we all see. Leavitt didn't let him finish. Her voice rose, sharp and unshakable. No, Chris. You're not speaking the truth. You're spreading lies, and I'm going to prove it. Right then, she turned to the audience, her voice firm as steel. Chris just claimed Melania's a luxury prisoner who signed the worst deal in history. And your source? Google? Or that overactive imagination of yours? She stepped forward, the conviction in her tone unwavering. I've got real facts. During President Trump's first term, the First Lady hosted over 50 charity events, met with more than 30 world leaders, and represented this country on 15 international trips. That's not a prisoner. That's a strong, committed, and dignified woman. You stand up here tossing weak jokes about contracts and hurricanes like that's entertainment, banking on applause to carry you through. But I'm not going to let you reduce the president's family to a punchline just because you need a boost for your next comedy special. The crowd murmured, a few beginning to clap for Levitt. Rock chuckled, trying to regain control. 50 charity events, wow. Did you also count how many times Melania looked like she wanted to bolt? I bet that number is even higher. Leavitt didn't budge. She stepped in closer, locking eyes with him. You want to talk about looks? Fine. I see a woman who stood beside her husband through every storm, from campaign chaos to the hardest days in the White House. What do you know about that, Chris? Who've you stood by, other than your mic and a crowd that paid to laugh? Gasps rang out, the applause grew. Rock opened his mouth, but Levitt wasn't finished. You say she wants Trump gone? I've got something better. Facts. She's been by his side for over 2 decades through 3 campaigns and constant criticism. That's not captivity. That's loyalty. Something you clearly can't understand. Samantha tried to ease in. Karoline, you're defending her pretty passionately. Leavitt turned her way, voice still cutting. I'm not just defending Samantha. I'm correcting the record. Chris is up here spinning stories about a woman who can't defend herself. Right now. He mocks her for not smiling in photos. Who cares how many times she smiled? Strength doesn't need a smile. But Chris, he needs laughs to distract from the fact he's got nothing left to say but recycled jokes. The audience clapped harder, her words landing like punches. Rock gripped the mic tighter, trying to hold steady. Stale? I'm Chris Rock, Levitt cut in again. Sure, you're Chris Rock, but tonight you're just a washed-up comic throwing cheap shots for relevance. Rock tried to recover, raising his voice. Relevance? I was famous before you were even born, kid. Melania doesn't need you defending her. She knows who Trump is. But Levitt was done being interrupted. Her tone turned ice cold. Don't call me kid again, Chris. I was made for this. What were you made for? Slinging insults at a family that served this nation? You say Trump ruins everything? During his first term, the GDP grew by 3%. Unemployment dropped to 3.5% before the pandemic hit. That's success, not failure. And what's your biggest accomplishment? An HBO special 2 decades ago? The crowd roared, some even shouting, "Right on, Karoline." Rock flinched slightly, trying to speak. GDP? Are you turning this show into a White House press briefing? I was talking about Melania. Levitt cut him off again. No, you were talking about the president's family, and I'm here to set the record straight. You think you can throw punches and duck behind your jokes? Not today. Here's your truth. Melania Trump worked tirelessly, advocating for children, promoting peace, and you're mocking her from a studio chair? That's not comedy. That's cowardice. The crowd cheered louder, drowning out the last of Rock's laughter. Samantha raised a hand, trying to calm the storm. Okay, you're both incredibly passionate, but Levitt wasn't finished. She looked straight at Rock. You called me the rescue squad? No, Chris, I'm the cleanup crew, and tonight I'm mopping up your mess. You want a joke? Try looking in a mirror, because tonight you're the biggest laugh in the room. Rock sat frozen, mic trembling in his hand. The cocky smirk was gone, replaced by a flash of fury in his eyes. Samantha tried again, voice raised slightly. Okay, both of you are strong voices. Chris, do you want to respond? The audience went still, bracing. Rock shot up, his voice high and almost yelling into the mic. Respond? You think I'm just gonna sit here and let this kid lecture me? I'm Chris Rock. I don't need anyone telling me what to say or do. Rock snapped, his voice cracking. Few weak chuckles rose from the audience, but the earlier buzz had faded. He pointed at Levitt, hand trembling with rage. You think you're better than me? Spitting out GDP stats like that means something? I don't care about politics. I'm here to say what people actually see. And what they see is Melania Trump looking at Donald like she's desperate to get out. Don't deny it. He stormed toward Levitt's table and slammed his mic down. Thwack. The sound sliced through the air. I was doing comedy before you even knew how to read. I don't need you telling me what's cowardly or what failure looks like. Who the hell are you to talk to me like that? There were a few whistles from the audience, but the applause had thinned. The tension was thick now. Levitt sat still, eyes locked on him, her expression tight. Then she stood, cool and composed, her voice like frost. You can scream and slam all you want, Chris. That doesn't make your point true. And stop calling me kid. I'm the White House press secretary. I speak for truth, not for the chaos you dragged onto this stage. The audience clapped louder, her support rising with every word. Rock tried to cut in. Truth? You call tossing around cherry-picked charity numbers the truth? Levitt's voice sliced through. No. I call truth standing up for someone. Being unfairly targeted by a man who can't see past his own punchlines. You don't see Melania. You imagine a version of her and spin it for a laugh. That's not true. That's projection. Rock stepped back, his face burning. I'm the only one saying what people really think. Melania stuck with Trump, everybody sees it. You can shout about events and stats, but you can't hide how she stands next to him like she's trapped in a golden cage. He turned to the crowd, arms wide. Don't need data. I've got eyes. Some laughs echoed, but faint now, hollow. Levitt fired back, voice steady and precise. You've got eyes, but you're blind to facts. You call her stuck. I see a woman who chose to stay, who worked hard, who represented this nation. What have you done besides yell like a child having meltdown on stage? The crowd gasped. Applause erupted for Levitt. Rock staggered a bit, trying to come back. Child? You dare call me a child? I've got 3 Emmys, 2 Grammys, millions watch me every year. And you're just some Trump stooge reading speeches he won't even write himself. He jabbed a finger at her. You think you beat me with stats? I don't care about numbers. I say what people are thinking, and they laugh because I'm right. Leavitt cracked a smile, sharp and cold. They laugh, Chris, because you've become a joke. I don't need Emmys. I've got the truth. You call me a lackey? I'm the one standing guard while you throw cheap shots and call it talent. Samantha tried stepping in. Chris, Karoline, maybe let's... But Rock cut her off, his voice breaking. No, she doesn't get the last word. Melania is a prisoner. I bet she wrote her divorce papers the day Trump stared at the eclipse like a damn idiot. He slammed. The mic down again, chest heaving. Levitt stepped forward, voice low and cutting. You bet? That's all you've got, bets and noise. Meanwhile, Melania Trump stood beside the president for over 2 decades, through criticism, through every storm. That's commitment, something you clearly don't understand, because you hide behind laughs when someone finally calls you out. The audience exploded with applause, drowning out Rock's last shouts. He pointed a shaky finger at Levitt. You can't beat me. Levitt delivered the final blow, voice like steel. Tonight, you've already lost. You want to scream. Fine, but truth doesn't flinch. And I just proved that to millions. The crowd stood, roaring, the studio echoing with chants and cheers for Levitt. Rock stood frozen, his face flushed, gripping the mic that now sagged in his hand. He tried to smile, but it twisted awkwardly, no confidence left. Samantha raised her hand again, this time her voice shaking. Okay, I think we need a breather. But Levitt sat down, still staring at Rock. I don't need a breather, Samantha. I'm done. And so is he. Rock turned to the audience, desperate, voice cracking into a shout. I'm not done, but... Chris Rock wasn't done. The live stream burned like a fuse waiting to explode. His voice was hoarse but defiant, pacing like a caged lion in his penthouse, camera shaking in one hand, the other slicing the air with wild gestures. You think she beat me? He barked. You all saw the show. I kept it real. I said what everyone's too scared to say. That ain't losing, that's being honest. His chat box lit up, split right down the middle. One half fired hearts, claps, and Trars Team Chris hashtags. The other half flamed him, spamming clown emojis, mocking his outburst. Chris scrolled the comments mid-rant and faltered, just for a beat. Look, I didn't come for no stats battle, he snapped, voice rising. She threw numbers like confetti and called it the truth? Man, that ain't the truth. That's scripted spin. But the screen behind him told another story. A trending chart, live, pulsing with the Levitt wins, climbing higher by the second. News outlets plastered with headlines. Chris Rock unravels. White House press sec silences the stage. Leavitt versus Rock, the slap you didn't see coming. And deep in the White House media wing, Karoline Levitt watched it all unfold with the calm of a chess master on her final move. He's doing it, her assistant whispered, watching the live feed on another screen. Levitt didn't blink. Good. Let him scream. Every shout makes him smaller. She leaned forward, speaking with clinical precision. Draft a second statement. Headline, Rock doubles down, America doubles back, make it hit. I don't need to stream, I've already won. The room nodded. Emails flew. Phones buzzed. Back on Instagram, Chris was sweating now. His voice cracked, throat raw from the yelling. She thinks just 'cause she stood calm, she wins? Hell no, you win when people laugh, when they cheer, not when you quote the damn Federal Reserve. His phone vibrated. A notification popped up. Fox News panel, Chris Rock humiliated. He swiped it away, but it stuck in his mind like a splinter. Then came the final blow. CNN aired a split screen. Chris, screaming into his phone, veins bulging. And Levitt, composed, professional, shaking hands with Samantha Pierce on set. The bar. Caption? The comedian got heckled by the truth. That night, memes exploded. One showed Chris's red face next to a clown emoji with the text, "Still think jokes beat facts?" Another showed Karoline adjusting her suit, fire behind her, with "Ice Queen of the Press Room" in bold beneath. Chris's stream ended without a goodbye, just a blank screen and millions still watching. And somewhere in D.C., Karoline Levitt smiled one last time before heading to bed. The war was over. The fallout had just begun. Rock slumped into the chair, hands gripping his head, whispering to himself, "I didn't lose. I can't lose." But his voice was hollow, stripped of power, clinging to pride like a drowning man to driftwood. The energy, once volcanic, had cooled into silent defeat. Across the country, inside the White House, Karoline Levitt stood firm. Her office was bathed in golden afternoon light, papers scattered across her desk like battle maps. Her brown-haired assistant entered, tablet in hand, beaming. "Karoline, you've got to see this. Your ex-post's blowing up. Public's losing it for you. Rock's been dead quiet since the meltdown." Levitt didn't even look up right away. When she did, it was with a calm smile. "Good," he finished himself. "I told you, truth always handles the rest." The assistant nodded, eyes wide with admiration. "Every outlet's running pro-you now. CNN's calling you the silent hero. Fox says you crushed Rock with truth. You won." Karoline nodded, just slightly, not in celebration, but in quiet control. "I don't need titles. I need to protect the president's family. If Rock wants to yell, let him. He can't rewrite the truth." She stood slowly, walked to the window, eyes on the south lawn. Then, voice sharp, steady. "Prep a final statement. Emphasize Melania Trump's record. A dedicated first lady. Chris Rock? Just noise. We're done here." The assistant nodded, fast, typing furiously. "Got it, but if he tries to come back?" Leavitt turned, a cold smile on her lips. "He's got nothing left to come back with. He screams, 'I've got the truth,' but the public saw the real thing." Outside the office, the digital world agreed. On MSNBC, a commentator laid it bare. Rock thought his clout could carry him, but Karoline Levitt didn't fight with jokes. She fought with precision, and she didn't flinch. CNN replayed her now iconic line, "Truth doesn't need a mic," next to footage of Rock yelling into a camera, red-faced and alone. Social media was relentless. Memes mocked him. Tweets praised her. TikTok split-screened his meltdown with her smile. The verdict was clear. In L.A., Chris Rock sat in the dark, phone off, blinds drawn. The cold coffee in his hand had long gone stale. Tony stood nearby, quiet, his voice soft. "You need time. She won this one, Chris, but you'll bounce back." Rock didn't reply. Just mumbled again. "I didn't lose. I can't lose." But the world had moved on. He was still in the fight, but now just swinging at shadows. The hashtag #YouAreRockVLeaveIt still trended, but the tide had fully turned. It wasn't a battle anymore, it was a post-mortem. CNN aired one last headline. "Levitt triumphs, Rock retreats," and in D.C., Karoline Levitt stepped to the mic, issuing her final statement with unshakable calm. "Truth always wins. Melania. Trump is a dedicated first lady. Chris Rock? He lost." She set the mic down. There was no victory dance, just poise, confidence, command. Her assistant, standing to the side, smiled. "He's gone quiet. You did it." Levitt gave a small nod. "No more words needed. The public already knows." The stage was cleared, the noise faded. And in its place, the lesson stood loud. In today's America, where politics collides with celebrity and every battle is broadcast, the real winners are the ones who come prepared, armed not with volume, but with truth. Chris Rock, for all his fame and fury, leaned on punchlines and pride. But Karoline Levitt brought numbers, evidence, and unflinching focus. 50 charity events, 87 press appearances. She didn't have to shout. He had fame. She had the facts, and in a world drowning in noise, facts still cut through. So if you're watching from the sidelines, remember this. Don't try to win the world with rage. Win it with reason. Don't yell. Don't panic. Be like Levitt. And don't forget to subscribe, because if Rock tries to flip the script, you'll want to be here when it drops.